Hey everyone, it's Michael Kikle. I hope you're doing well today, and I have a video here to talk about a movie that's part of a franchise that I grew up with that I loved quite a bit, even though I wasn't a comic book reader yet. Loved it all the way back to the cartoons in the 90s, and that is X-Men. Now, this film is really the final X-Men movie to come out, if you don't count New Mutants. If you can count that as an X-Men film, I don't know. I still haven't seen it, and I wanted to see that. I wanted to see that more than I wanted to see this. I've just yet to find a copy on DVD for $5 at Walmart, somehow, some way. I found a copy of X-Men Dark Phoenix, and I guess to recap, because I haven't reviewed the other films, I plan on reviewing them at some point. I'm relatively a live-action X-Men fan. Mainly, like most people, it's being a fan of Cyclops, but then realizing as I grew up that he's better in the cartoons, he's better in the comics that I have read over time. I haven't read a whole lot of X-Men in general, even to this day, but I'm a big Wolverine guy. And basically, you had First Class come out years ago, and I really like, even dare say love First Class, despite its issues. I think McAvoy and Fassbender have carried this timeline of movies, just like Stewart and Gandalf, Ian McKellen, that's his name, and Hugh Jackman carried the original for me, the original timeline, that is. I was not crazy in love with Days of Future Past. I think a lot of people around that time began to be bought out shills. I really do believe that. Think about in hindsight how you don't hear people talk about that movie anymore, right? You really don't. And when I was working at Big Lots at the time, I remember seeing the fucking characters in that people were so excited about for some reason on like Dr. Pepper cans and stuff at my store when I was shelving stuff on the shelves. Very weird time. But Days of Future Past at least was watchable for me. It was cool having the two timelines kind of collide. And then eventually you had X-Men Apocalypse, which was again back to this cast with McAvoy, Fassbender, Sophie Turner, sadly Jennifer Lawrence. And Apocalypse I saw in the theater, and I was kind of excited to see it despite Ivan Ooze being the villain, and Oscar Isaac for that matter, who was in everything at the time. And it was horrible. It kind of ruined X-Men movies, even more for me than X-Men 3 sort of kind of did. I'm not a diehard anti-X-Men 3 guy, but it's definitely not the best, if you will. So anyway, I've really held off watching this. For those who don't remember, this came out in 2019. It was 6 years old, and I'm just now finally seeing it. This thing could go on the bathroom by itself and use the toilet by itself without any supervision if it was a real human being. It's directed and written by a guy named Simon Kinberg, who did a lot of early 2000s superhero stuff, which makes this movie, to me, make a lot of sense. It really does. The X-Men live-action movies, before Deadpool 3 tied them into the MCU and stuff, apparently it's still going to with the Avengers films coming up, possibly Fantastic Four as well. Kinberg's, name was on everything. He touched a lot of scripts out there, including a little bit of Josh Trank's Fantastic Four film. And I don't hate Kinberg. I really don't. Dark Phoenix feels like an early 2000s X-Men movie. It really does. It feels a lot like what people, in my opinion, I think the very overrated X2 X-Men United, it feels in a lot of ways, the feel of it, not the quality of it, feels like X2 for me. The way it's shot, the way it looks, the way the writing of the characters are. And I know that's heresy to you obsessors out there who are convinced that X2 is a good movie. I'm sorry, I just disagree. Maybe it's because I'm not a die-hard X-Men guy outside of Wolverine and Cyclops. I don't know. But when it comes to the live-action films, Dark Phoenix, to me, it's not that great, but I don't know what I think is the worst Fox X-Men movie. I'll be honest with you. I don't really know where I stand on that. Maybe when I go back and review all the films, it might be New Mutants. I don't know. I haven't seen it, like I said. It might be this. I don't know. Apocalypse was pretty horrible. To me, I think Apocalypse is worse than this, off the top of my head. But that's just me. Some of you might put, like, Wolverine, the first Wolverine film, on this. I don't know. But anyway, Dark Phoenix, I was interested to see how they would basically do X-Men 3 all over again, because they had hinted at this a little bit towards the end, I believe, of Apocalypse. Doesn't really make any sense why the end of that movie would tie into this one. I'm not a big Sophie Turner guy either. Everybody I know, all my friends love Sophie Turner. I don't really think she's that good of an actress, and I really don't think that she's that pretty or anything. She doesn't feel like Jean Grey to me, the one I knew from the cartoons and, again, the little bit of comics that I've read. And that goes for anybody that wrote this character over this other timeline of Fox movies. So anyway, the movie kicks off with the X-Men being loved and praised by the government, by other humans, so on and so on, with this kind of civil rights movement thing that happened with like Days of Future Past and Apocalypse, if I remember correctly. Again, it's been a long time. And they're going on another mission to stop something in space. The CGI in this film, people trash it, but it looks a lot, again, to me, like the X-Men movies that I grew up with. X1, 2, and 3, and X-Men Origins Wolverine. It feels a lot like that, and I don't care what anybody tries to tell me or gaslight me about. It does. It looks a lot in CGI and in framing of shots and whatnot like those movies, like the first two Fantastic Four films. Is it Tim Story who made those? It feels like those kinds of movies from those early 2000s to me. And I kind of had this odd nostalgic feeling, not always throughout the film, but through a good majority of the film, from beginning to end, that I felt like that. So I didn't hate it. You know what I mean? And that, again, that might be heresy. You folks out there that have convinced yourself that this is the worst X-Men thing ever, somehow, some way. It ain't great. I wouldn't argue that it's probably not that good. It's probably below average in a lot of ways. But I don't know if I would say worst. I really don't. I really did not like Apocalypse back in the day. But while this mission is happening, and of course they have, James McAvoy as bald-headed Patrick Stewart in this movie, and I really like McAvoy. He's good here when he can have something to work with, and that is not always. Fassbender's back in here as Magneto at certain points. He's always great. Both of those two always bring their A game. You have Cyclops, you have Nightcrawler, and the weird casting for Nightcrawler. I really don't know if I like this actor. I love the guy from X2. This actor, I just don't think he fits Nightcrawler. I don't know what it is, but there's something there. Jennifer Lawrence is back as White Mystique, basically. And she even takes a moment, guys. You probably heard about this when the movie came out. I forgot all about it. She even takes the moment to correct Professor Xavier as she begins to turn evil in this movie. That the X-Men should be called the X-Women because women are the only people doing anything correctly nowadays in this X-Men group. It's so fucking cringe. I can't stand Jennifer Lawrence, never been a fan of her, can't stand The Hunger Games, think the first book sucks, it's a ripoff of The Long Walk by Stephen King and Anthem from Ayn Rand, just mashed together and throwing a bow and arrow into the mix. That book sucks, she sucks. Anyway, Storm, the chick playing Storm here, I'm going to be honest with you. I did not remember her being in Apocalypse, but apparently she was. I really like this girl as Storm. She's really good. She's a good actress for the little bit of time that she gets to be on screen actually doing something. You know what I mean? I like her. I think she was pretty. I think she gave a good performance. Keep this girl for the newer MCU. That's my opinion. Don't bring back Halle Berry. She's not a great actress. Put this girl in there. I really do think that could go somewhere. And give her the original costume with the big hair or the mohawk or something. That would be sick. And you also have Evan Peters back for like 2 scenes, which is a shame because he's way too good to be wasted the way he is in these movies. Nicholas Hoult, by the way, is back too for Beast, and I really love him as Beast. It's not as good as Kelsey Grammer. I haven't talked about these movies on this channel yet, but Kelsey Grammer was perfect Beast. From the voice to the physique, the costume, the makeup, all of it. Nicholas Holt's a great actor. He's a phenomenal actor, probably one of the best nowadays that are in my age range, my generation's people of actors. He's great. I really, really like him. He's good here. I don't like what they do with him by the end of the movie. And if you know the movie, I'm not going to spoil it, but if you know the movie, you know what I'm talking about. That change-up's terrible. I'm sorry, it's awful. So while they're on this mission in space, something goes wrong, and Sophie Turner, our girl, Jean Grey, gets stuck in a situation where she's basically blasted with some kind of explosion / space gas slash, space fart. But it's magic, ancient dust, essentially, that's given off somehow by a villain played by Jessica Chastain. Did not know it was Jessica Chastain. She looks so different here. I don't know what happened there. I don't know if it was an illness in real life or what, but she looks like the way Ariana Grande looks in Wicked now. Sorry, not an insult, but she looks like her from that situation. I was not down for it. Did not know it was her until I ended the movie and looked it up on IMDb to do this review. But I think her name is like Vuk or something. I don't have a freaking clue who that is. I just don't. I've not read about this character before, never heard about her before. So if they ruined the character, sorry for you guys. If they did the character well, I don't know about it. So I'm not going to go too far into that. All I know is this character's lame. And instead of having Dark Phoenix be the ultimate, complete 100% threat at all times in this story, once Jean begins to go crazy and kind of be possessed by this Dark Phoenix spirit in her being awakened, whatever, by this space fart that got all over her, the craziness that she shows a lot in this movie, and a lot of the scenes that are parallels to X-Men 3's original version of this, those were kind of neat for me as a fan who grew up around those times, right? And all the ties again to X-Men 3, some of the change-ups here, they kill a couple of characters in here, which I thought was kind of surprising. That stuff was, in my opinion, kind of well done. It was. Not like an amazing Spider-Man No Way Home experience, not like an Avengers movie of MCU quality, nothing like that. But that CGI feeling like the stuff I grew up with, the look of the film, the filming of the movie, the shots picked to film this movie, all of those things and a lot of the terrible-ass writing for characters and one-liners felt like home to me. I know that sounds stupid, but it did. And that's not me giving this a positive review, it's just saying I would probably watch this again before I would ever touch Apocalypse again. Unless I reviewed it for the channel. But still, that's not a glowing review, that's just me saying that. The music's not that great. Obviously, it's got that generic live-action X-Men movie music that we've had literally from the first Bryan Singer film onward. It's not great. But Dark Phoenix herself, we don't get, like, the costume. And by the way, the X-Men costumes in this movie are really nice. I like those a lot. They actually look a lot like the original appearance in the Stan Lee comics when he first created them. I really like how it's got, like, the yellow X over the chest. I think that was in Apocalypse. I could be wrong. Again, I haven't seen it in ages. But I liked that. That was a nice detail, even if it was only for this movie, because I can't remember. That was cool. I liked that. There's a lot of decent, kind of fun stuff in here, but that's about it. You know, most of it is really CW teen drama with a little bit of a bigger budget, even though Arrow and Flash in the earlier seasons look a lot better CGI-wise than this. But if you've not checked this out and you're kind of willing to give it a shot, and you just keep putting it off like I did, this is not as bad as people made it out to be. Yeah, it's not up to par with what we're getting nowadays, with like The Dark Knight since 2008. It's not up to par with things like that. It's not up to par with like Spider-Man No Way Home or even Guardians 3, which I thought was above average. It's not up to par with stuff like that. But I would take it honestly, and I mean this, and I don't think people expected this back in 2019. I would take this movie any day over the majority of the post-Endgame Marvel MCU movies. And I mean that. I really do. This had a lot going for it, and that tone and feel of it, even though it's kind of a messy tone, because there were clearly some reshot scenes and moments in this, you can feel it. Those things still made this a little bit more watchable than most of those things for me. And I would totally sit through it again before, like, Thor Love and Thunder, or Thor The Dark World, even though that's early MCU. That's just my opinion. I know that that's not going to be a positive thing for weirdos out there, but that's how I feel. I'm sorry. That's just how I come across my feelings with this particular movie. Sophie Turner is not menacing at all. She does not give a good performance here. The stuff with the chick that apparently provides this Dark Phoenix dust shit that awakens the Dark Phoenix, whatever, that stuff is so fucking lame. I don't like it. it gets in the way of the story. Sophie, or in this case, Jean, should have been the villain entirely for this movie, no matter who was involved. That should have been sequel bait, about who caused them to lose Jean. That's what I think. But they had to, find a way to try to make Jean not an anti-hero. She clearly does bad things in this movie. Because of the Dark Phoenix influence, because of people in her past, like her dad lying to her. She finds out a lot about herself, but it doesn't have enough good quality writing, at least not in the final product, maybe in the original script, to really justify those things and to make them work, I guess. It's not a good movie. It's not a good movie, but I don't think it's anywhere as bad as things have gotten. I don't. But yeah, that's pretty much it. It was nice to see McAvoy. It was nice to see Fassbender, Evan Peters. All three of them always bring their A game to stuff. Nicholas Hoult as well. But that's really where the fun lies. That and some of... And by the way, I'm going to say this too. This movie is short. It's an hour and 53 minutes, and that's not that short, compared to back in the old days. But it flies by. If you take off the credits, this movie is like an hour and 40 minutes, and it's zoomed by on pacing. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of mutant stuff in here. The finale is not that great. It's really not. The kind of showdown that it gets to, really not that great. It feels like the same kind of mess X-Men 3 was. And I think because Hugh Jackman is Wolverine in that movie, obviously you have Cyclops for a few minutes, you have Patrick Stewart for a few minutes, you have the original Jean Grey that's so fine. Those things made X-Men 3 better than this. Not by much, though. But anyway, have you seen X-Men Dark Phoenix? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Again, I've never read the Dark Phoenix arc at all. I've wanted to. I wanted to when this came out. But I just didn't get around to it. Was this a decent representation, of that movie? Was X-Men 3 better about that? Which one even got close? They're so similar, and this one is riffing so much off of X-Men 3 that I have a feeling neither one even comes close to the ballpark of what that is. I think, I could be wrong, but I think the 90s cartoon covered Dark Phoenix. I may be wrong about that, but I think I saw a little bit of that before that show ended, if I remember correctly. And I remember it being solid, but I could be wrong about that, so let me know if that even happened. It's been ages. I've never seen the show since I was a kid. Anyway, what do you think about this movie? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Would you take this over modern MCU films? Except for the obvious exceptions, right? Would you? I gotta know about that. So anyway, let me know everything down below. Thank you all for watching, guys. God bless you all. Catch you later, and goodbye.